welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James the Fat Man Stevens, and Ryan the Creepy One Preston.
Yeah, so before the show we were actually just kind of bullshitting about, like pop stars and the fact that, we were talking about MTV and the first song they ever played was The Video Killed the Radio Star, which we're just kind of saying, I don't think it really killed him, but it did put a lot of ugly faces out there. Steven Tyler for one, Mick Jagger for another, and it's kind of.
No, see, I've got the perfect ugly face would be Gene Simmons, who, by the way, as far as I know, is the most verbose about his
flamboyance.
Yeah, his amount of women, because his son once said, you screw this person, you get $1 million. You screw my dad, you get your face in a family photo album in our basement.
Yeah, but I don't know, there were some ugly guys that got a lot of women, though. That's just what blew my mind. And I was talking to one of my girlfriend's moms back in high school, and I'm like, were you really after Steven Tyler? She's like, oh, yeah, that man was I wanted that man. I'm like, dude, he's not a pretty man.
There's a lot to go. Well, I see. Here's this is funny because here's the thing is, obviously we were talking about, and like, the fuck aren't you recording this for? And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, let's record this. Now we're having a rehash of a conversation.
Yeah.
So
John's actually Googled
the point I was going to make was
stars.
I was some of my favorite performers throughout time are the least attractive people of all time. But
hello,
it's the act has so much to do with it.
So
true. A good performance is something different. If I were to say the attractive male stars, I could see women liking Freddie Mercury, though he didn't like them. If you really want to put up somebody at that time, even Ozzy Osbourne wasn't really an attractive man. He didn't look ugly or anything. But,
well, very, very few people go into performing when they're super attractive and they have just shit handed to them. It's the other people that feel they need to be talented.
True. That's a good point.
Certain people obviously discover it, and there's a lot of very talented people. I'm not saying that attractive people
Jim Morrison.
Terrible at things.
But Jim Morrison...
Jim Morrison was sort of a traditionally attractive
I understand
person.
Women wanting him. He had a lot of issues, but,
a lot.
As opposed
Alice
to Steven Tyler, where you're like, this was a person who mated with a bird.
So I Googled ugly rock stars. And
that's a long list.
So one I've never heard one, Shane
McGowan.
Can't name him offhand, but number 2 is Alice Cooper. Not shocking, actually.
Hey, he's got some of my favorite music.
Marilyn Manson is the one that kind of surprised me. Not that I thought he was ugly or attractive, but that one actually kind of shocking because you never see his face. The dude's covered in clown makeup, white number 5 type of thing.
But he's, I don't know. Who the hell is that?
Oh, he's from Tears for Fears. It's Ronald. Orzabal. I know of him, but I don't know his name specifically.
Anyway, but
oh, Iggy Pop, yes.
Oh my God, Iggy Pop is a freaky looking individual.
That's an understatement. The first time I saw him, I
was
always wondering if he was animal, mineral, vegetable.
Iggy Pop was right before Keith Richards.
Iggy Pop is like the 5th state of matter.
Well, okay, so we're obviously taking a look at these guys from like the 65-year-old Keith Richards. I'm not saying Keith Richards was the most devilishly handsome guy back in the day, but when you're young, no accounting for taste, right?
Yeah, but the weirdest thing is this list includes somebody like Joey Ramone, who
I've
known a lot of girls who thought he was.
He's in the top 10 of this list, and I'm kind of thinking there's other people. Kid Rock's in this?
This is the one I always thought was funny because he kind of says it. What was it? I'm not straight out of Compton. I'm straight out the trailer. He kind of waves the flag. Yay! Come on, look at him. I like Kid Rock, but he's not a pretty man. But when you have that much money, you don't really need to be pretty.
But I'm thinking,
Because I guarantee he's gotten more bumper
There's
than
got to
any
be
body shop.
uglier singers out there than Kid Rock and Joey Ramone.
You know what? I had this coworker back in the day at the first fucking mortuary I started working at way back when.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's why we call him the creep.
Yeah, I happen to work at a funeral home. But
he's actually begged me not to
my
use that
coworker
nickname.
was this super fucking rad chick from the Bronx in New York, obviously. But she was telling me this story one day, or she came into work kind of looking a bit sort of perplexed, and she was like, "I just had a weird ass encounter over at the gas station." I was like, "What happened?" She was like, "I was pumping my gas. All of a sudden, I look over the corner of my eye, see this really skinny, bald, maybe like late 50s, missing teeth black dude on a bicycle riding towards me, like just locked eyes riding towards me. Slows down, stops right at my pump, gets off and starts like spitting the most confident game that she had like heard apparently in some time. And she's like, it was weird because at first, as soon as he started talking, I was turned on. It's not the words that she used, but intimated that she was turned on at that particular moment.
Was it Sly Stone?
Was it Sly Stone?
I guess not, if you don't know who he is.
Like Sly and the Family Stone?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Sly Stone.
I'm actually impressed he knows who he is. That's kind of shocking.
Yeah. Way to derail the story, Charney.
I know.
Hey, I figured I would try to interject and guess here. I mean,
so
if you're going to
anyway,
do a
was this
long-winded
guy
story,
like a pimp trying to get her to, be pimped out or some shit? I mean, that's the only thing I think of. I mean, somebody coming up looking like that with that much game, you know?
But in any case, she basically said that after a split second, she realized her better senses that who was talking, and was like, "No, get the fuck away from me," and then got back in her car and drove away.
All right.
But she was saying that just that fucking immediate confidence of like, I'm gonna talk to this attractive woman was just enough to get her
revved up
past that sort of front door, you know.
To get her nether regions twerking.
So, you know, you can be just super confident and get women.
You know,
we've all known that super weird kind of ugly dude of our friends.
Funniest thing though,
who somehow pulls more chicks than anybody.
Okay, so Jess. One day I was talking to her and I'm like, so what? Why would you go and like date a guy like me? And she's like, I really like your confidence. And I thought about it, I'm like, confidence? What the fuck do I have confidence? No, I just was talking to you, like initially, you know. And I've had other girlfriends, you know, that have told me that it's your confidence that I really like right at the bat. I'm like, I'm me. I don't give a shit. You know, I'll talk to you if I feel like talking to you. If I don't, I mean.
By the way, get this transition. Talk about creepy people. Bill Cosby finally gets sentenced. He's being sentenced to 3 to 10 years, which is basically a life sentence for him.
And he's gonna probably do
10?
like 2.
And well, because it's 3 to 10 basically, the way I understand it. For good behavior, he'll be out in 3, probably in 2 because he's a blind old creepy bastard.
You know what I think would be hilarious?
My favorite
is if he got a job in the kitchen and they had him make Jell-O.
Oh no, there's more to the story. So apparently he's forced to be a registered sex offender. He has to do all this, which by the way, telling him, oh yeah, you got to do counseling doesn't help a guy when he's 80 fucking 1. And his first meal in prison, guess what it was?
Jell-O.
Pudding. According to TMZ.
I wanted Jell-O.
So you got to see this. So this is Bill Cosby. This is, I don't know if you can see this because all our lights are in the way, but this is Bill Cosby. He looks so sad because he's not remorseful about raping all those chicks. He's upset the fact he's in prison.
Yeah, but I mean, really think about this though. You're at the end of your life. You've had a very successful celebrity career for what, 50 years?
At least since the 60s. Yeah.
So close to 50 some odd years. You're at the end of your life. And you're going to spend your last days, possibly, very likely, in prison.
So
that sucks. But
do you think
his choices though?
Do you think his wife's going to put any money in his commissary?
Nah.
Because if I was his wife, I would fucking take everything.
Yeah.
Because I was talking.
I'm sure he's got. I mean, if he had lawyers that could get him 3 to 10 with this, I think he's got good enough lawyers to keep his wife at bay.
Honestly, part of it was probably the fact that he's 81 and a 3-year sentence. It really is most likely could be a life sentence for him. So I guarantee his age played a part of it. Plus the fact if he does get out in 3 to 10, like 3 years, for example, or 2, like Ryan said, he'll never be able to go anywhere.
No. He shouldn't be driving anyways.
So I don't know. I mean, I was talking to some people at work about this, and it's crazy because you think about it. I've never been a big Cosby fan. I liked the Cosby Show. I liked some of the kids shows he did. But in the 70s, he was number one. I mean, it was him, Don Rickles. You're talking about Richard Pryor, a couple other guys. But he was like the top 10 of top 10 comedians.
Richard Simmons.
And then all of a sudden, you find out decades later that he was just this creepy bastard. It's really weird.
Well, I mean,
yeah, it is weird. That's I think his prison experience. I would almost feel like it would be the same anywhere just because he can't see anything. But I was thinking about it, and his sentences is more or less the same, except we're going to put you in a place that smells bad and worse food.
And the fact that...
That's really what it equates to, because nobody's going to fuck with them. No, they're just going to pretty much leave them alone. If anything, you're going to have to deal with all the black people in the prison going, why? Why would you do this?
Where there's a couple of...
You were our hero.
Where there's a couple of things going for him. One, he's a rapist, so he's going to have to be in protective custody.
And plus he's a celebrity.
2, he's a celebrity, so he's already going to be most likely in even more protective custody, possibly like a shoe-style unit where he's in there most of the time. So
actually, I don't remember, but wasn't OJ kept out of General Pop for the most part?
Yeah, because he was a celebrity. He wouldn't have been allowed. If you have like if you're famous at all, you're going to get famous for known. A person stabs him, you're going to get famous for killing the guy. Like the person who killed Jeffrey Dahmer, you get instant credit for killing him. Even though I'm not sure why you would want to kill an 80-year-old man if he didn't rape you.
Yeah, no, it's that kind of shit is being let go. But like I said, if anything, people are just going to be asking them all the time, like, why would you?
I would be curious. So you have
to come in here so everybody hates you. What the fuck?
I would be curious to see what shoe he gets locked up in. I mean, is he going to be locked in with like the La MA bosses? I mean, or the MS-13 group? Like, I want to know what he's going to get locked up with.
Probably where the cops are.
He is going to be in some minimum security shit.
I don't know. I mean, like John said, like even like the protective custody detail, they have yard time and they're intermingling with other rapists and people like that. I wonder maybe that's where he's going to be put in.
I mean,
because that's also a group of people that
See, I'm thinking he's going to be even. I'm thinking he's going to be even more protected because he is 81. I mean, he's an older gentleman at the end of his life, so there are some limitations, especially being.
He's going to be in a medical ward. Of the prison, basically.
Yeah.
He's got to be given medication all the time.
I wonder if
he's got to be
somebody's
checked
going to
in on all the time. He can't see shit, so somebody's got to basically, put his food right there in front of his face.
So you want to take bets on if somebody decides to get beat purposely and put in the medical ward to go after Cosby?
I doubt that'll happen. They won't.
Yeah, no one's going to go after Cosby.
Because you're going to... Well, I mean, I have no doubt people want to, but I think he's going to be too closely guarded because he's such a big name. I think even if he'd be like Jeffrey Dahmer, like it's that type of name. He's famous. You have to protect him from other people. The other thing I'm kind of sad about is I like some of the stuff he was saying. He's railed against certain aspects of society and the negativity, and he tried to be positive. I like some of his messages. And then you hear him do this, and he's like, oh, yeah, be nice and love people, but knocking chicks out and raping them is fine. I mean, it's just like you're putting a lot of asterisks next to a name that you were trying to build. Like he was trying to build like the positive image for the African-American community, and look the fuck he does.
Not even that. He was trying to be the big father role model, too. I mean, that's what the Cosby Show really was. I mean, he was like the father figure that all fathers want to be.
And it's such bullshit. I mean, I wish he got caught later on, earlier.
You really can't. You have to sort of divorce the good from the bad. You take the results and not the person who gave it to you.
Well,
I mean, Werner von Braun gave us the ability to go to the moon.
But he also gave us the ability to go to the continents and blow them up.
And he was also an incredibly anti-Semitic.
That made Zyklon and A, and the Germans turned to Zyklon B for gassing the Jews. That guy also figured out a way to pull fucking what do you call it? I want to say nitrogen or something out of the air for fertilizer.
Well, one of the biggest issues,
and it basically like fed half the world because of that discovery. So you have to forget about the person and just take a look at. I mean, there was a lot of good things that he did. The person that himself is behind all of these great accomplishments is a piece of shit and needs to go to prison. But the things that were done because of that are still good things.
See, the issue, though, it's going to be like Lance Armstrong's a bad example, but Barry Bonds, for example, one of the greatest baseball. Hold on.
We can still look at his viewpoint and take it, as the things we might agree with or the things we disagree with. I mean, look, I don't agree that all the black kids need to pull up thetheir pants. Fucking let them wear what they want.
Well, here's the issue: is if you take Barry Bonds,
but the other things like, I'm sorry.
If you take like Barry Bonds, he was considered a really amazing baseball player. Found out the dude was on steroids. If he goes in the Hall of Fame, if he's not already, there's going to be asterisk next to it. Bill Cosby, what he did is an asterisk next to his name. It'll always taint his message. It'll really be hard to take away the artist from the man. It's like Michael Jackson, for example. You talk about the 80s Michael Jackson, the king of pop. Like Thriller is still considered one of the greatest albums of all time, will always be asterisked by his personal life. So I think that's the issue. And I agree with you. You have to separate the man from the message. But the other hand, at least in today's society, we dwell on the hypocrisy of people. So you're seeing a man who tried to reach out to his community, tried to be a pillar of the African-American community, and it turns out the dude is a serial rapist. I think that extremely hurt. I think that hurts a lot of people.
It doesn't hurt the things that, like I said, people can agree with. Let's say, like the way to conduct yourself in a community or something like that without selling drugs or something like that. You can agree with that and not agree with the rape.
Oh no! What I'm saying is, I think it hurts. It hurts the message. Because people aren't going to see him. They're not going to see the message. They're going to see the man. And I think that's the issue.
They're always going to remember that. But, I mean, the things that sort of stuck, whatever good he had done for the black community, let's say, as far as his messages or as far as his example that he was setting forth, that was done. Those kids are raised on the Huxtables, and that message was set forth. And those people are still shocked in dismay of these things and think that person's a piece of shit also.
I really hope that that's the case, that most people can look past it, but it hasn't worked for Michael Jackson. I'm a big fan of Michael Jackson.
Mr. Huxtable said this thing and he also raped people, so I get to do both,
but I think my Michael Jackson thing is a good example. Like, I'm a big Michael Jackson fan. But most people
was never convicted of anything.
Well, yeah, but most people cannot.
Ask Macaulay Culkin about it.
Most people cannot get over the fact that some of the stuff he was accused of. His life, his career is tainted because of that, whether it's justified or not. And so I think people at least.
Okay, well, with Michael Jackson, I don't think that stands because most people would have to dig to find those things anymore.
I don't think so. I think people younger.
Michael Jackson don't talk about the weird fucking.
Yes, they do.
It was like a 6-month thing out of his life, where he was on trial for potentially molesting somebody.
I hate to break it to you, but any conversation I've had other than with Music Nuts, it's always about how creepy it was. Not amazing how Thriller was, or when he was younger. That's the conversation you have about Michael Jackson, not the fact. The dude was an amazing artist. Like, if you watch the real We Are the World tapes and his recording, if you watch him doing that, you get to see that.
I think people, every conversation that I've heard since his death, basically has been like all the, oh, what an amazing artist, and remembering all the albums. And the guy's got so many years of albums and so short a time of that, it's always brought up as like, hey, by the way, remember when this happened? But it was always like an afterthought.
I would come back to is we kind of put celebrities up there, and we really don't think about much of their personal lives. I mean, Bill Cosby, let's put it out there, he's an actor. Everything he did on the screen was acting. That's true. Not really who he is. And I think the best way of putting this is, man goes to a doctor, says he's depressed, says life seems harsh and cruel.
Jeez.
You know what I'm talking about now, right?
Yes, I knew it. Yeah,
Pagliacci. I mean, that's what we really got to realize, is that these guys that are up there, that, I mean, greatest, one of the best comedians, way better than Bill Cosby, Robin Williams, depressed most of the time, but he has fantastic movies. He was an amazing actor, but he killed himself.
No, you're right. I think the issue, at least for some people and possibly me, is you'll always be attracted by Mr. Huxtable. You'll think, oh, what a loving, gentle man. And when you get to meet the guy, it's like, oh, this dude's just a fucking creep. My cousin, my cousin met Bill Cosby back in the day. Ever since that meeting, he's always said the same thing about Bill Cosby. He's a fucking asshole, and has been saying it for 30 plus years. Turns out my cousin was right. But no, you're totally right.
Well, here's the thing, it's the reason they say don't meet your heroes, because people write heroes. People write the simple flaws that are easy to overcome, that give us hope and all these things that we can change ourselves in the future, which never fucking happens.
Well,
but you don't meet your heroes because you're meeting a man, and man is fallible. Man is never going to be perfect. It's never going to be who you thought they were, and they're least of all going to be their character.
I think it's even worse for actors, because, like you said, I mean, you meet Bill Cosby, you're not, like you said, you're meeting the character. I think it's even worse when you meet, say, your real life character. Name your war hero, say like Chris Kyle, and he turned out to be a son of a bitch. That's even worse. So yeah, and I think the problem is you realize, like you said, is the fact these people are fallible, and nobody likes fallible heroes, unless you're the Fantastic Four fans.
But I mean, there's been lots of celebrities that have had their inner lives exposed. I mean, that's basically what a paparazzi is.
Yeah, but
that's what they do all the time. But I mean,
this is the worst of the worst. If you're knocking people out, I mean, him, Harvey Weinstein, I mean, these people, whoever is doing this, the guy from House of Cards. I forgot his name on purpose.
Kevin Spacey.
Yes. If you're doing any of this, you're a son of a bitch, because this is the issue I have, is the fact that about that. And it's one of the issues I've had for Hollywood for years. If you look what happened with Judy Garland and other people, these people have been taken advantage of. And maybe it's the fact that as a country, we all want to be famous. I actually met a guy. I interned for a company who did podcasting for 6 months. Talked to a guy there. He's like, I want to be famous. And my first thought was, that would be hell.
Well, the other thing that I want to bring up is, if you study history, I'm someone who enjoys history. I think John kind of does as well. I know Ryan does. But if we look back in time, let's go back like 1,000 or 2,000 centuries ago, kings and queens, like, later on, a lot of their inner workings of their lives became public, except for, the Tudors. Once you got that all exposed, which was basically dragging it out, I mean, the guy was a pervert, and he wanted to keep on marrying different women, so he had him killed, beheaded, or ostracized.
Well, for Henry VIII, though, that
was something that a lot of the kings did. And if we go back even farther to the Roman emperors, there was a lot of screwed up people there. Caligula, look him up.
Part of Henry VIII's thing is he had issues having an heir, so instead of blaming him, he always blamed on the wife. I mean, there were other issues about it, but that was, from everything I've read, that was one of the issues.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was... Plus, he was a whoremonger. I mean, he really wanted to sleep with whoever he fancied, honestly.
Well,
but a lot of rulers did that.
There's a common thing, a common underlying theme amongst all history, especially ancient history.
Aliens.
You know, you get back into the time that James said. I think you went back a little far. I'm pretty sure you said 2,000 centuries.
Yeah, but,
even 2,000
2,000
years would be too far for the Tudors. But
well, I meant like if we're going back through the century for 2,000 years.
But I get what you're saying. But I want to go back a couple thousand years till about maybe 300 years ago. Maybe even like 160 if you really want to be specific, I suppose, before it really stopped. The underlying theme of rape throughout history would blow your fucking hair back. You know, it's the thing that never gets fucking talked about. All these conquests through all these different cities, crusades, Roman empires, Mongol conquests, the expansion of the West, the Cortez conquering Mexico, all rape all throughout that entire time. If they moved 40 fucking miles, a lot of people were raped.
You know, one of my favorite things to point out to people who are just on the fringes of history, like they kind of, oh yeah, I like history, and I bring up redheaded stepchild. If you don't know what that means, you're an idiot, because what that means is the Vikings came through, raped and pillaged your village, and raped your women. What happened 9 months later? You get a redheaded stepchild. I mean, that's where that whole thing comes from. Because they were going through, they literally would, like, if they didn't kill you, they raped you.
I mean, wasn't it Thomas Jefferson, one of the American founding fathers, wasn't he known to rape his slaves? Wasn't he?
I think it was Jefferson.
Because I thought he was the one that ended up with one or two African-American daughters. Because I remember something about the descendants later on. So reality is it's not an uncommon theme through history. It's one of the reasons it's such a... It's so.
Are you guys justifying Bill Cosby now?
No. I'm just saying it's.
I just had to throw that out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but
I was actually making the larger point that when people say like oh, there's no such thing as rape culture, I can agree to a certain sense. Like, we definitely don't advocate for any such thing as a rape culture. You know, no part of society does. But we're not very fucking far removed from the impulse at any given point.
I would say it's not necessarily a culture. Well, maybe this is the wrong way to put it. I'd say I don't know about a culture, but people giving into their baser urges. And I also would think that would have to do with the old saying, you know, power corrupts, is the fact that, granted, you know, a poor person can rape a poor person example, but the bigger examples I'm aware of is people in power who can lord their power over others. Like Henry VIII, if he wanted to rape you, he could you didn't really have a choice. You know, it was either
going to have his guys hold you down and rape you, or he's just going to do it right there.
So like the Harvey Weinstein or Stein, or, you know, fuck him. That's the perfect example. He could kill your career before it even started because he, for some reason, really wanted you to watch him work his crank in the shower, which is a weird fucking kink.
Well, on the list of kinks, I don't know if that really breaks the top 10.
Well, because here's my thought.
Criminal nonetheless.
Well, yeah, but here's my thought. Well, I wouldn't want to watch anybody watch me do that. I'd rather watch a beautiful celebrity take a shower. I mean, that seems a little bit more interesting to me than watching this poor girl as an overweight rich white dude working my crank in the shower. That sounds awful.
Well, you understand the definition of a kink, though, right?
Yes, I get it. It's still fucking weird.
Well, that's to the person who doesn't have that particular kink. Again, all those things on the top 10 would weird me the fuck out at any point.
So let's just have something clear. If you force somebody to do that, that's a bad kink, right? Are you for that? I mean, are you totally for the Louis C.K.?
No. That's a bad kink. That's again criminal. You know, like there's a point of consent. You know, if you're gonna do that, like there's a point when everyone's on board that makes it legal, you know.
You need the form. I hereby release all liability.
But yeah, no, it's
just.
Look, we've talked about this ad nauseum. I mean, as far as what power can get you and things like that, and the sort of perceived power that you can have over other people. You know, the fact that somebody would think that they can sort of get away with that for an extended period of time is the creepy part to me.
No, I do have a question, and I do have to warn people. I'm a white male, so take that as maybe. Is there a point where this movement can go too far? You look at the guy like Kavanaugh, whatever his name is, the guy who's trying to get the Supreme Court position. There's a woman who said he did something to her, and to be honest, I haven't been following it, 35 plus years ago. And at what point should that poor choice of his, and I'm saying poor choice because I don't know what to call it. I mean, if he did something, he shouldn't have done it. What point should that affect you? Should it be of all time? Because obviously it's going to affect the woman or the guy for the rest of his life. I'm trying to. Where's the balance on this?
I'm all about due process in these sorts of things, and I really wish that none of the due process should hinder any of the Me Too movement in general, as far as like the ability for women to come forward in these sorts of things.
No, I agree.
But there needs to be some due diligence on part of law enforcement and of society, to let's not jump to immediate conclusions and just bash somebody's career.
Well, one of the
recently,
issues,
the story of Chris Hardwick, the sort of former leader of the Nerdist empire, was involved in a deal with a former girlfriend coming forward. Are you guys familiar with this?
No, this is the first time I've heard of it.
Okay, yeah, this blew my fucking mind. Like when it came out, I've actually been a fan of Chris Hardwick in general for a bunch of years. Listen to his podcasts and shit from the beginning. And this all happened maybe about 6 months ago or so. Came out that there was a open letter written on a blog post, I believe, from his ex-girlfriend Chloe Dykstra, who sort of detailed this unnamed person's abusive relationship and that she was in with him. Through a bunch of details in the article, it wasn't, or blog post, it wasn't hard to fucking figure out who she was talking about. So everyone was like, wait, what the fuck is going on here? Like was detailing things like wouldn't let her see or have male friends, or like would demand sex on the moment, or did everything. I mean, it was like very demanding and controlling, and this like detailed, really maniacal sort of person. So Hard does, I think, the most brilliant. I mean, as much of a tech nerd and a social media nerd as he is, he did the smartest thing possible. He went off the fucking grid. Like, there was zero post, no online presence whatsoever from this dude. Because immediately after this blog post comes out, before he would even have a chance to respond, AMC polls his upcoming show, Talking with Chris Hardwick. They polled the Talking Dead, the after show for Walking Dead, and like one or two other projects that he had going on with AMC. Just immediately pulled all of his shit. Canceled the premiere of his show and said, like we're not doing any business. And then like a day later, I think they redacted and said, before further investigation. Went through some sort of a lengthy process. There was sort of really split the field with support on both sides. A bunch of people with Chloe, and a bunch of people with Chris, and I was sort of on the, really, Chris Hardwick, like that guy. It just struck me as odd. But
God, that would be such a hard. Because I don't know. I mean, I know of the Nerdist. I don't know of him personally.
So what ends up happening is AMC details an investigation that they went through, and if I remember the details correctly, I think that Chloe Dykstra had declined to be involved in the investigation. But later I heard, I don't know if it was just wording in the bullshit article or something, that said she was not asked to be involved or something like that, or they never approached her. to be involved in it.
So here's something from HuffPo. It doesn't particularly mention her, but it says NBC confirmed on Tuesday that Hardwick was keeping the gigs. Came after a week. AMC said he would be back with Talking Dead, and talking with Hardwick following review. An announcement decision. AMC said it was the appropriate step after interviewing a number of people in connection with the allegations against Hardwick. He is scheduled to resume work on the Talking Dead companion drama series Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead on August 12th. Hardwick's acknowledged that an online post by his ex-girlfriend Chloe Dykstra alleging she had been sexually assaulted and emotionally abused referred to him. He has denied the allegations. God, I see that. See, I totally agree.
But anyway, here's the thing: is that they basically AMC at the very least sort of vindicated him. You know, they said, you know what, we're back in the Hardwick business. I think his first thing was he came on and guest judged on like America's Got Talent.
See here,
and then started doing the show again. But they're rolling him back in.
So how do you? I am curious. How do you, as a network, as a company, whatever, when an allegation like this or any allegation of thing like this, and let's for example take the Matt Lauer thing. Where do you go if somebody says, "Oh yeah, you did this"? What steps are appropriate? On one side, removing him, firing completely is appropriate, but if he's innocent.
See, I've always personally liked the FBI approach of by the time they knock on your door, that means they've been following you for 2 months.
Yeah.
So it's more.
I appreciate that approach of like, you're not going to know we're here until we've really, really got you fucked.
Well, so how about, I don't know why they invested. I don't remember as far as the Matt Lauer thing, why she came so like boom public. But my first thought would be if I was NBC or one of these things, my first thought would be I'd be suspending him. So he's been removed from host duties until we hear further allegations. So it doesn't look like you're firing him, but you're also removing him.
But hold on, I want to address Ryan's thing of the FBI. But when somebody publicly says that you've done this, that demands immediate action by your immediate supervisors or boss, which is what would be AMC to Chris Hardwick. So they don't really have the same choice of the FBI of saying, "Well, we've kept you on for 2 months."
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I guess herein lies the fucking problem. I was about to say that I would guess that I would hope that women would come forward sort of silently and say, "Hey, I need you guys to look into this." But I guess that's happened probably more times than anybody has admitted.
One of the
and never fucking got anywhere because unless it's public, why do anything?
The other thing
especially
that
if you're talking about somebody like Harvey Weinstein. I totally get that now.
The other thing that came up because the Tangerine one's decision to make a really stupid comment about the Kavanaugh thing, our Tangerine in office said a comment about why didn't she come forward earlier. It's not super uncommon for a woman or anybody who was raped to not say anything for decades. It's super not uncommon. Matter of fact, I'd be more surprised if it was I'd be surprised if it wasn't rare for somebody to come up and say they were raped.
Yeah.
And so I don't blame some. I think it's an amazing thing that some of these women have spoken up about Weinstein, Matt Lauer, and there's other people saying, yeah, they fucking raped me. My question is, and I'll be honest, this is really fucked up because you're talking somebody being emotionally and physically abused versus a company standpoint. I'm curious on where the line is that, because until you know for the fact, as a company, you're going to either get sued for wrongful termination or applauded. So I think what AMC did was right. AMC said, okay, everything's on hold. And if we find out this guy did it, he's done.
So, but you also got another point. You brought up the Supreme Court Justice guy that's being investigated right now for sexual harassment, sexual shit.
He did
35 years ago. And he did do it. So, but at that point, 35 years later, we all basically know the statute of limitations, 7 years, except for felonies and certain felonies. But so he's had 35 years. And my issue is that he may not be the same guy 35 years ago, but he's also not the great guy of being good enough to have come forward before this allegation was brought up to try to make things right. So either way, in my opinion, is there's no real regret. Because if you have real regret, you would have gone to this person, admitted it to, if you're married, your wife as well, and brought this up beforehand and said, hey, we need to settle this, come up to the person that you offended, and, try to make things right. So he hasn't done that. So in my book, he's just swept it under the rug and just kept on going.
So one thought would be, and this is...
That's...
I agree, by the way.
That's like the ultra fucking moral thing to do.
I
mean, if you're actually that regretful, the real honest thing there.
So what
is stop to it?
Yeah.
No, I completely.
That's where I'm at.
So what if he So this is a super hypothetical. So what happens if he remembers a person but can't find her? Would that be a thing that he should come out and say?
Well, I would imagine that he's not going to go knocking on her door anyway. That's the thing that I would have a lawyer approach her. You know what I mean? If that were me, I'm feeling like, hey, listen, I'm going to need you to track down this person and say that she needs to contact her lawyer.
All over the freaking place.
No, I completely agree with James. If there was any, if he did what Trump said he does to women, an apology should have been had. It's like, look, I was way out of line. I'm really sorry. Granted, by the way, this apology, if I
35 years.
Yeah, and the other thing, by the way, if I was a woman and whether it's the tangerine tornado or whether it was the guy running for office, an apology wouldn't do dick.
No, it really
wouldn't.
You'd have to basically say, like, hey, listen, I'm rich, I'll give you X amount of money, or I can go to jail, your choice,
I don't think you could. I don't think after 35 years he could go to jail, but paying penance, I could totally see. But
okay, yeah. Well, I mean, even if it's then like, hey, listen, I understand. Like they're not going to be able to charge me for this. So
what about
in recompense?
So what about the judge thing? Now, a lot of Democrats say he should step down because of this. A lot of Republicans, granted, nobody I've talked to have said this, so this is just off of online, say this was 35 years ago, let's let it go.
That's the thing is, I've heard so strong opinions on both sides of this. I mean, Trump saying he's a great guy, and all these things, taking the, and then the Democrats on the other side going, the motherfucker should step down right now. I can't believe this monster is still having the nerve to show his face. I mean, all those types of sort of apocalyptic point of views, right? Nobody, I don't think, knows anything to be certain right now. There's, best I can figure, all speculation on allegations.
So I really don't.
Until something happens, I hate that it's being used for politics.
No, I agree.
If it's fucking true, I mean, if it turns out that it's like whatever 10% true of some terrible shit, I mean, and there's any kind of a doubt of his innocence, then hey, dude, see you later. I'm on that camp. But if there's just like, hey, look, this all turned out to be smoke and mirrors because one thing or another, I'm not saying anything at all. What I'm saying is I don't know, and I'm appalled at the reporters and politicians who are using this definitive point of fucking view for their own politics.
Oh, that's always going to happen.
I legitimately don't know. I don't know how to feel about this because, granted, if he actually did rape this chick or did something, fuck him, go. I mean, he's considered by some. I haven't read a lot about the guy, but he's considered a great judge. But if he didn't do it, I mean, this guy's getting railroaded. But granted, the Tangerine Tornado said this guy was a good guy. It's an automatic kiss of death. So I don't know. And I also feel sorry for this woman because if it's true, this took a lot of balls to go in front of the court of public opinions and say this. That is a move of unprecedented bravery. Because I couldn't do it.
Now that's the thing that immediately strikes me as, oh, this probably isn't bullshit. Just because there's going to be a very, very thorough investigation into that.
So my first,
there's a lot of vested interest in making sure that's a accurate report.
My first thought when I heard this, and I have to admit, I'm a skeptic when it comes to politics. So anything either side says, I'm usually skeptic about, and that was my first thing. Oh, this is the Hillary's. Hillary's server in the bathtub thing. This is either a non-starter or starter, and I was doubting it. But this thing has legs, mainly because how important of a vote of a choice this is. But man, I really dislike the fact that rape is being used and said just thrown around. So
well, this isn't a new thing. This has been going on for a long time. It started mostly with college football, celebrity.
But
celebrity sports things is where you initially saw a lot of the.
Was it Kobe Bryant?
Well, I'm talking about like just all together. I mean, as far as the rape culture, you mostly saw it prominently in the celebrity football arena or the college football or basketball arena. It really wasn't so much prominent in the political arena until like. Bill Clinton and
no, it had to. Well, no, because there was there was also Chappaquidda.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't.
It didn't come up as much.
We didn't have a lot of names to throw out there. But if we go to the NBA and football, there's a lot more names.
So
anyways,
wait, hold on. I want
to
clarify real quick. So you're saying it didn't happen, or just wasn't as known? It wasn't as public.
It wasn't as publicized.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
So now that it's become
there's two very different kinds of sort of sexual assault going on there. You have like a sort of over testosterone, that is a thing. Dude running around who really can't control his behavior in certain moments. Maybe gets a little ahead of himself, makes bad choices, versus like the very sadistic and calculated kind of thing that you get from like politicians or dudes in power.
Yeah. So, but what I want to get back to is I don't have an issue with a public official, whether it be lawyer or councilman. I don't really give a shit. If you had things happen in your past as a young man, maybe going through college, high school, early 20s, where it's a drug history, whether it's a sexual assault history, any of that, if you have come out and publicly copped to it at a young age and have moved on with your life and have either bettered yourself, paid recompense, whether it be prison time, fines, or anything, but you admit to these actions, I don't have a problem with you being up there as a politician. Because people can change and better themselves.
Oh, no, I agree with the rape thing is still a little sticky.
I know it is, but I'm just saying, if you are willing to step up in the public light, say I have done this, I have changed my life, I want to better the country, I want to better the area that I live in, I want to bring what I have learned and move on and help other people do this. I'm okay with that.
Goddamn, can you fucking imagine that speech?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if you're willing to stand up and talk to it.
You guys aren't even looking for me, and I'm about to admit to some shit.
Yeah,
but I would.
Like, you don't even know a crime has been committed, and I'm going to tell you there has been.
The only caveat I think I would add to that is if what you did hurt others. Like,
hold on, but I'm going to come back to a certain point. But if you are someone who's been in the public eye for a very long time, judge, councilman, or just kind of just using those
Tangerine.
There goes to a bunch of different things. And it comes out that 35 years ago, you raped somebody, or you had a horrible drug history that you were covering up, not copying to it. That takes your whole career of 35, probably 40 years, and taints that entire thing. As a judge, your cases can be overturned on certain things. All of that stuff comes in a question because now you show that you are an evil, maniacal son of a bitch that really doesn't give a shit about anybody except for yourself.
Yeah, well, and also you probably perjured yourself at one point or another on
exactly,
polygraph.
Yeah, because there's forms and things that you have to sign that you haven't done this, and this, and you're lying.
Right,
though.
A lot of interviews going on. things like that. People trying to tell if you're lying and if you're covering up some shit like that.
So I did.
And yeah, then you wouldn't have been applicable for the job. You simply wouldn't have been the person we chose for this.
Yeah.
Which means you're not the person we want. We wanted that other guy, it turns out.
So I did. We're running up hard against our time limit. I did want to add a little bit more to the conversation just to see what you guys think. So this is from the Revelist.com. It's a website I'm not familiar with, but so reporting a rape, and this is verbatim, so I'm just going to read it. Reporting a rape is difficult personal choice for many victims. It means talking about the assault to friends and family. In many cases, it also means beating the clock. 34 states impose a limit on when a rape case can be brought forward, ranging from 3 to 30 years after the assault. These statute of limitations were created to ensure evidence presented in a trial has not deteriorated over time. Here's the question. 35 years is a long time for anybody, not only in evidence, but in memory. It is proven that you can actually change your memories. Memories are not permanent. They are fallible. Not saying... So my question is, how do you handle this? And granted, this is a conversation that everybody's having, and it's a right conversation to have. How do you handle this when it's such an old case on both ends? How do you handle it from the woman the person who was raped, because men can be raped too, and how do you handle this for the person who was wrongfully, said, "Oh, I was raped"? So I don't know how, because I legitimately have no idea how to process this, because my first thought is a guy that if it was one of my female friends. If it was one of my friends, if it was a member of the family, my first thought would be, let's stomp a mud hole in the dude. So I really don't know, for me, how I would react. I literally have no idea where to start on this. Personally,
there's a lot of circumstantial things. Obviously, they can happen. They can change somebody's opinion. This is me talking just entirely out of my ass right now, by the way. You gotta have an opinion. But it's the only sort of system that we got. I mean, there's obviously flaws in it, and unfortunately, yeah, like you said, memories are fallible. I mean, they're easily fucked up, and details misremembered constantly. In a nutshell, that's why I'm against state-sponsored execution.
I agree,
but simply because it's easy to get it wrong. And again, I mean, we have the juror system, and it's supposed to be this system of impartiality, and it works to a certain extent. But the system is run by people, and people are fallible also, and so there's cracks and there's things that can happen. But like I've often heard people said, I can't think of a better system, I can't convince everybody that now is the time to do something. And apparently there's still a wide problem with rape kits being non-tested. I mean, there's a large circumstance where you're just sort of kidnapped and raped and then let go. And then you're just like, what the fuck just happened to me? Not even by sort of like the guy you went on a date with, or the guy your boss is, or whatever. So there's this whole slew of underground rape kits just posted up, waiting to be tested. And I don't know if it takes a while or what the situation is, or lack of funding.
If you just hold on real quick, this is from endthebacklog.org. I have no idea if this is true, but my thought it was from the statistics I've heard. The backlog for untested rape kits, according to this website, is 13,615. I have no doubt it's more. But so just to prove Ryan's point, there is a huge backlog of kits that have not been tested.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, that's kind of step one as far as find us some rapists.
Hell, they just caught the bastard, the Golden State Killers, and what was it, the Golden State Rapist? I don't know if it's the same guy, but.
Yeah, I mean, luckily there's different techniques that we can use, sort of that sort of supersede, like some horseshit eyewitness testimony, picking up the wrong dude for something. And, luckily there's a lot of scientific evidence that can be, established, also circumstantial, because science. But we're able to narrow these things down a little bit more. But I mean,
okay, Jesse Pinkman.
So James, what do you think? So I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I hate Jesse Pinkman.
So what do you think, James?
How dare you, sir?
On a case like this, I mean, as far as a prosecutor or even a detective's point of view is, I mean, you got to go back and try to interview people from like 30, 35 years ago. I mean, that is just not going to happen easily. I think this is just going to get drug out for a long time. I really do. And I don't think we're going to get an answer. We will not get a definitive answer for a long time.
So,
I mean, it's just going to be hearsay at this point. I mean, literally, that's all it's going to be at this moment. Is it's going to be what he said, what she said. That's it. That's all you got.
We're pretty much out of time. I do want to say something, that this is a serious topic that we hope we've had some decent discussion about. So most of these things that we've talked about are things I've found all around the internet. And you're granted, you're welcome to call us a bunch of stupid white guys, because we're a bunch of stupid white guys. But I really want to know what you think. And so I'm going to state it here. Real Flicks Reviews has always had, or MadTrio has always had a community standard of, you're welcome to say whatever you want about us as long as it pertains to the topic at hand.
Damn,
I want to know personally what you think. Is there something that we could do to prevent this? Something we can do to help these men and women who have been hurt or damaged because of people like Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein and whoever else?
Do you support castration?
A lot of the times it's also like the neighbor or a family member. This is horrible. Rape should not happen. And we do have a president, like we do have
we're taking a hard stance on this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do have like the Tangerine Tornado, our president, who has pretty much been very open about grabbing women by their crotch. So we don't exactly have a great standard against it. So what do you think? Our contact information is all around the internet. YouTube comments, our Facebook page. Please let us know what you think. And as always, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.